Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certifact Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week we got a pretty good lineup for you guys. I think we have 2 first appearances, 6 honorable mentions, so 8 titles in all to go through. Not near as big as last week's video, but there's definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week ending August 23rd, 2024. First up from Marvel Comics, Namor number 2. This features the first appearance of Kalani, a rival in the War of Seven Kings. Now, we typically recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel Comics. You know, Marvel Disney is still churning out a ton of media for the small screen and big screen, and you really don't know where these characters that are introducing in comics may end up. If they hit the screen, collectors will race back and try to find the first appearances. Now, with all that being said, the way that this particular solicitation was written, this is a little unusual because they say Kalani as a rival in the War of Seven Kings, which makes it sound like he's a character in this particular story arc only. Now, if this character doesn't go into the future, or if, Marvel Disney doesn't make a bigger deal about this character or bring this character onto the screen, if this character only exists in this particular story arc or in this particular issue, now this one here may not be all that important in the future. But like I said, you really don't know what Marvel Disney has up their sleeve. If this character hits the screen 5-10 years later, people will race back, try to find this first appearance. So it's probably worth picking up anyway, in our opinion. For $3 or $4, the risk is worth the reward on this. Now this here will be a little bit more speculative like I mentioned, but once again, probably worth the pickup. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. And lastly, from Marvel Comics, Ultimate Spider-Man number 8. This features the first team appearance of the Kingpin's Sinister Six. This also features the first cameo appearance of Felicia Hardy in a photograph. She later becomes the Ultimate Black Cat. Now, we mention this all the time. It's always worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in Spider-Man titles. The Spider-Man franchise, the most popular and most heavily collected franchise for Marvel Comics. So anytime they introduce a new character or a new team or a new superpower or a new costume, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection. And this particular issue here has a first team appearance and a first cameo appearance. And this is part of the Ultimate Spider-Man title series. This title series is incredibly popular with collectors. I think Ultimate Spider-Man number 1 is already on the 7th print. This is an incredibly popular series. There's been a lot of issues that are really desirable. So this one here, in our opinion, is definitely worth picking up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And now for the honorable mentions. From DC Comics, Titans number 14. This features the possible full transformation of Raven into the Darkwing Queen as seen on the cover of issue number 15. Now, like we always mention, when there's a possible first appearance or a possible transformation, as in this issue, you really want to get confirmation first that this here is the full transformation of Raven into this new character, this Darkwing Queen, before you pick up this issue. And even if it is, how important is Raven as the Darkwing Queen going to be in the future? We really don't know. DC Comics doesn't have the cinematic power that Marvel Disney has, so they can't bring a lot of these characters to the screen, so they really rely on really good storytelling, word of mouth, and, just popularity with fans and collectors to get these characters to be more important in the future, resonate with fans and collectors. So this one here will definitely be speculative if you choose to pick it up. Like I said, if you are going to pick this one up for a spec, make sure that this here is the full transformation before you grab it. Otherwise, it probably won't go anywhere. So grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual number 1. In this issue, you get introduced to relatives of Miles Morales. Now, if this here was any other franchise other than Spider-Man, we probably wouldn't put this on the list. But like I mentioned earlier, anything related to Spider-Man or new characters, new teams, new costumes, new superpowers, the Spider-Man titles are definitely books you want to have in your collection. This one here introduces new relatives of Miles Morales into this particular issue. Now, if these relatives don't go into the future in any other storylines or story arcs, they just stay within this particular issue. They may not be all that important. But once again, you really don't know what Disney has up their sleeve. If they bring these characters to the screen, whether small screen or big screen, people will race back and try to find these first appearances or these introductions. So this one here will be speculative if you choose to pick it up. But like I said, Spider-Man titles, definitely worth the risk. For $3 or $4, you'll be sitting on a huge winner. So grab this one here for your collection if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Wolverine Revenge number 1. This is a 5-issue limited series written by Jonathan Hickman and illustrated by Greg Capullo. Now, this is a great writer and artist attached to this particular series, and we put this one on the list because there's been a lot of chatter about this particular title. Now, this one here, we don't really know if there's any first appearances in this particular issue, but like I said, there's been a lot of chatter about this, and right now there's been a lot of hype and a lot of renewed interest in the Wolverine character due to the Deadpool Wolverine movie. I think that's still in theaters. So maybe once that hype dies down, this book may not be as important, but like I said, there's been a lot of chatter about it, and you have a great writer and artist attached to this particular issue. So this one here does sound like a great spec in our opinion. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list, but keep an eye on this one. Next up from Dark Horse, Patra #1. From the celebrated creators behind Starman and The Flash comes this new supernatural series about slasher monsters, mad scientists, and cult movie-inspired horror. A young girl named Patra wakes up with no memory of her past. All she knows is that a big knife and a horrific mask appear whenever she's in danger. There's also a deranged killer who is slaughtering families in a small Midwestern town that wants to make Patra his next victim. Now, I put this one on the list because there has been a lot of chatter about this title. I remember hearing chatter about this title a few months ago. This may have been scheduled for release earlier in the summer, but got delayed until now because there's been a lot of talk about this particular issue. And like we always mention, the big price driver for these small press and indie publishers is if they get picked up an option for small screen, big screen projects. And this one here does sound like it can lend itself very well to a streaming series or feature film. And Dark Horse has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past. So this one here, in our opinion, is a great spec bet. Grab it for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Volt Comics, Something Crawled Out #1. Edith Miller has no grand plans or great prospects. She spends her days sleeping in and her nights working shifts at a gas station. But when her younger sister fails to come home, Edith unearths a web of missing girls and rotting bodies. The police prove useless, so Edith teams up with her best friend Rainer in a desperate hunt to find her sister. The only thing is, Edith believes her best friend might be the devil himself. Now, once again, this sounds like it lends itself very well to a small screen, big screen project. And Volt Comics has had some of their titles pick up an option in the past. Not as many as some of the other small press publishers, but they're definitely getting a lot more interest on their titles. So this one here, in our opinion, sounds like a great spec. Definitely has potential to be option. So grab this in here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. And finally from Image Comics, Stand Still #1. Meet Riker, an enigmatic, lecherous, and clinically insane sociopath who has stolen a top-secret device that can freeze time. Now, as the bodies of world leaders pile up, famous works of art go missing, and other strange crimes dominate the headlines, only the device's creator, a run-of-the-mill science geek, knows what's happening and sets out to stop Riker. Now, this one here sounds like it lends itself easily to a small screen, big screen project, and Image Comics has a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past. So in our opinion, this one here has great potential to be picked up an option, and like we always say, these titles don't actually have to make it into production, they just have to be optioned. Being optioned is enough to actually drive the price up on these in the secondary market, and typically once the price gets elevated, it doesn't really come all the way back down. So it's best to grab these at the cover price. In our opinion, this is a great spec, so grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. So there you have the 8 titles that we have for you guys this week. There's definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.